Supervisors, we'll call the meeting to order. Pastor Mike Roeder from Christ Center Assembly of God is with us tonight to offer the invocation, and then we will have our Pledge of Allegiance. All stand. Pastor Mike.
Thank you so much. It is a delight to be with you tonight. Let me first open with reading a passage of Scripture from Psalm 33. It says, "But the plans of the Lord stand firm forever, and the purposes of his heart through all generations. And blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord, and the people he chose for his inheritance. From heaven the Lord looks down and sees all mankind, and from his dwelling place he watches all who live on earth. He who forms the hearts of all, who considers everything they do. No king is saved by the size of his army. No warrior escapes by his great strength. A horse is a vain hope for deliverance. Despite all its great strength, it cannot save. But the eyes of the Lord are on those who fear him, on those whose hope is in his unfailing love, to deliver them from death and to keep them alive in famine. We wait in hope for the Lord. He is our help and our shield, and in him our hearts rejoice, for we trust in his holy name. May your unfailing love rest upon us, O Lord, even as we put our hope in you. May our unfailing love, may your unfailing love rest upon us, O Lord, even tonight as we put our hope in you. Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for you are our Creator, our Sustainer, our Savior, and our Redeemer. And Father, we just commit this evening and this county board meeting to you. Father, I pray for these individuals who are giving of their time. God, help them, give them wisdom to make good choices as they are stewards of the resources, the opportunities that we have. God, bless them. We pray for families in this county. We pray for commerce. We pray for economy. Lord, we know that each decision we make has consequences, has ramifications. And God, I just pray a blessing upon them. Pray a blessing upon the St. Croix County and Valley. And Lord, we love you tonight. God, superintend over this meeting, we pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Seated. Pastor Mike, thanks a lot. One of the things that we're going to do tonight, and I'll have Cindy walk us through a little bit of instructions here. You've been noticing all the remotes up here. Supervisor Hermson, they cannot be used simultaneously in spite of your earlier request. But we will tonight begin with the use of Roll Call Pro. And you can see the roll call distributed up above. Have Cindy indicate some instructions. We will use this opportunity tonight to test the system. We will vote on several things tonight that normally we will not do that. One of the things that I think will make things more efficient when we do get rolling in our legislative meetings will be to use Roll Call Pro when we're wanting to record specific votes where on the record we want those votes, but there are a number of things that are informal and we probably won't use it. But tonight we'll take advantage of the fact that we've got them. They need to be district specific, so your number is on them. Should we distribute them now while you're giving some instructions, or I'll turn it over to you?
I'd just like to say we'll distribute them and we'll use this as for the roll call. You also need to sign in on the sheets if you want per diem mileage reimbursement. Okay, so this is just for the roll call for this meeting, but you still need to sign in. And they indicate at the bottom voter and then a number, and that is your district number. So make sure you're using your own remote or you're voting for someone else. They're specific to the numbers. Please don't push the buttons yet. And something I found out today. Sure, if you like. Something I found out today that if you're pushing buttons, I'm running off of two systems. I'm working off a laptop when I'm typing the minutes in Word, and I'm also working off the system that's in the audio room, which is running this. And as I was typing today, we were in here experimenting with this, and when a button was pushed, it would show up on my Word document. But I could tell who was doing it. So I know if you're pushing buttons because the district number shows up. Yes, Esther, you're 6. The number records on the Word document I'm working off, but you can't really do anything until I give the okay and proceed this way. But you're still going to show up if you're pushing buttons. One thing to always make sure to do when you're recording your vote is to press your vote and then confirm it. So you have to select the vote. For the roll call, it would be present, and then at the bottom, you have to confirm it.
Why is that District 7 one smoke?
Is what? I'm sorry.
Why is Gene Winston smoke?
Smoking. So,
Are they on all the time, Cindy, or do we have to turn them on?
there's no, it's just a battery in there, and in order to preserve the battery, I would need to remove it after the meetings for the next month. So, and bear with me because I'm going between screens, and it takes me a while to get between the two. Right now, you can see I'm in there. So if you're ready, I have a separate remote. It's the clerk's remote. To proceed, confirm.
Somebody gonna take Rogers and press absent?
No. Okay. If you're not here, you don't press the button. So so everybody is in that is present, and I will proceed, and then it says absent for Joe and Roger. Okay? And that will be recorded in the text here. Yes.
You have to hit it twice. Do you have to do that on the vote too?
When you vote, yes, it'll be however you vote, yes, no, abstain, and then always confirm it at the bottom in order for it to record. If you're not confirmed, it shows up there, and we would just wait. Okay? So that's the roll call. Okay? And then we just move on to the next thing, or are we going to?
Any questions on the use of the remotes? Good to go?
I think the only time we'll use it is for yes, no, and confirmation. That's the only 3 that we'll be using.
No. I suppose now would be a good time to explain that too. You can see on here that there is a request to speak button. That's been disabled. You need not press this as a request to speak. We'll still be old-fashioned enough that we can do this. But there will be, so that we can maintain the database and assist Cindy in doing her job, once there is a motion, which will, I still need to be the traffic director so we don't get out of control on this thing. When a motion has been made, then Cindy is going to record that, and the person is going to indicate here who made that. Is that right? Or it's only the second?
No, it's only the second.
When the person seconds a motion, then she's going to come back and record that, and then I will take that second, and then you will indicate on here, second the motion. See that button? That's going to put that into her database so that that will be tracked for the minutes. Is that right?
Yeah, and when there is a motion, I have to activate that motion in order before a second can come, but I will be working off the Word document, typing the motion that you're making. So that will come after. Once I'm done typing, I'm gonna have to switch screens and go back to this so I can indicate who made the motion, and then whoever did the second would press that on their remote. Okay?
Okay.
Yes?
Cindy, is there any chance that as you're
Do you have your
typing,
microphone on?
is there any chance that as you're typing the motion, we can see the words of the motion also?
I don't. No, you
No.
cannot.
That's a great idea.
You don't want to see my typos.
But on that point, one of the responsibilities of a chair of a meeting under Robert's rules is when a vote is called for, to repeat the motion. And I will do my best to be able to do that succinctly so that we know at all times what it is that we're voting on. I'll tell you right now, I may make some errors on that, but I'll do the best I can to repeat a motion so that everyone knows at any given time, are we voting on a motion, an amendment, an amended motion? What specifically is your vote being asked for? Okay, we're ready to go? Alfie?
So I understand now, if I got this clear, because electronics get them off. But you have to, I'd have to hit the second, and then how I voted, yes or no?
No, the second the motion is only if someone brings an action item to the floor, if Brian brings an action item and I say, is there a second? And you second his motion, then when Cindy is recording that, then we'll ask you to press the second. I will ask you to do that. Right.
Yeah, it won't record until I'm ready for it to record, okay?
Okay?
It just takes a little time, and I'm going, like I said, between screens, so.
We'll all
yeah.
learn as we go.
And if
But
you-
again, that will be if I ask for it.
Sorry.
Steve?
What happens in the event that you go to vote on something, let's say you hit yes, but you were a little quick with the finger and no?
I can change it. Before, you will not see how your vote, how the vote result is until everybody's vote is in. If you have changed your mind or don't know if you hit the right button, I can cancel your vote so you can vote again before the results show.
But when voting, we'll use the example, we're gonna hit yes, let's say we're voting yes, then you have to hit confirm.
Turn on your microphone, please.
What button do I use? When voting, let's say we're gonna vote in the affirmative. We'll push yes, and then we hit confirm. And at that point, it'll be logged.
Yes.
Let's say I hit yes, but I haven't hit confirm, I can change it to a no, and and then confirm. It'll take whatever the last button was pushed before confirmation, that's the one that'll record. Or are we just gonna have to, basically, we'll pay attention to what we voted to make sure it records what we want.
I haven't tested that. I would think before you confirm, you can change it. But you don't know. You don't know.
Yeah, you don't know what,
Right.
okay.
So we can vote yes and no.
Yes and no.
Chair chooses to ignore the previous comment. We're ready to go on.
Yeah, I've set the screen, and this is for the next, any action item, so it would be discussion. When there's a motion up there, it would indicate motion and then whoever seconded. So we'll just leave this as is for now, and then just go on with
Okay.
what we're gonna do, okay?
Okay. I'll call on the administrative coordinator for his report.
I can tell you that Buzz hit a button right now. I could see his note.
Good evening. Nice to see you all in your new locations. I'm sitting over here trying to think what's different, and it isn't where you're sitting or that there's only 2 rows, it's that there's no pictures in the back of the room. And from my vantage point, that keeps catching my eye. But a couple things I put in your box last week, the budget schedule for the 2011 budget. We talked with the administration committee, and there's one schedule change that you may want to take note on that schedule. We talked about having the budget approval meeting, the county board meeting, a week, the last week in October, on October 26th. That would mean changing the county board date, and we used to do this in the past. We'd have a late meeting in October and not have a county board meeting in November. You run into Thanksgiving holiday and all that. I don't know if the committee has actually confirmed that, but that at least appears to be the plan for proceeding on the budget. And I imagine we'll confirm that at some point. As you get into your June committee meetings, you should be seeing something from department heads who have capital outlay items. These are items that generally cost, $1,000 or more, a couple thousand. It depends. We've kind of horsed around with that a little bit, but we do ask them to try to do some projecting of what their needs are going to be, so we've got an idea of what kind of capital we're going to be facing, and that can help us later on when we're doing the budget. I'm mainly concerned in large items, but a large item in one department is a small item in another, so we take what we're given by departments, and hopefully it'll give us a good idea of what we're facing for the next budget. Some work is taking place under this year's budget. I need Art Tobin to nod yes. I believe the work out at the Ag Center has gotten started on the roof replacement out there. So you may see some things taking place as you pass that building. On the agenda, we have the goal-setting materials. Just kind of noting that Pete Kling is going to be working with me at the department head meeting on Friday to kind of go over that with the department heads and work a little bit further with them as those departments that have work that meets the objectives of the hopefully approved plan later in the meeting. So you may be seeing that coming to your committees in the next couple of meetings as well. Under the leadership of the IT staff, we are working on changing our county website. I'll talk to Tom Boron, perhaps at one of the summer meetings we can show that to you when we've got it set up and going. It's going to be much more interactive for department heads to use. Right now, a lot of it is just sent to IT, and they maintain the pages, but hopefully those departments that have a lot of activity that they want to share with the community, they can update the website on their own. I think the notice has gone out that there'll be a committee meeting of the whole on June 1st. Perhaps the chair can talk about that later under announcements. You may have seen in the New Richmond paper that some of us staff people, a few county board members, met with representatives from the city last week or 2 weeks ago now on water system issues up in New Richmond. They have some issues that they're looking forward to in terms of a tower and possibly some grant funds. Of course, we have needs with our own tower that is in need of a lot of maintenance and probably just simply replacement, but there's some water system improvements that we would like to see too. So we're having those discussions, and it wouldn't be right just to end this. We're going to have some recognition of an employee here later, but I just want to mention that we lost a couple of people, or we're having a couple of retirements. I shouldn't say we're losing them. They're going to be around, but they're not going to be working for us anymore. Jim Hare has worked for this county for 40 years, and he's been out in the highway department. He's the guy that made sure that your streets got plowed in the winter, and those road crews got out there and did their jobs during the day. I thought he was very sentimental at the transportation meeting, and it got a nice response from the committee. Dennis Peterson, some of you may remember Dennis in the finance department. He worked for the county for 35 years. He retired this month, and we wish him luck. And I'll save the last retirement for later in the meeting and let Esther do the honors on that. Any questions? Okay, have a good night.
Thank you. The agenda has been distributed for your prior review. Any questions or comments on the agenda? the consent agenda. Chair will entertain a motion on the consent agenda with the exception of the mileage and per diem report. That should be stricken. There is not a mileage and per diem report, so that should be removed from the consent agenda. With that removal, Chair would entertain a motion on the consent agenda. Motion, Supervisor Schrank. Second? Supervisor Larson. All in favor, aye. Opposed, same sign. Carried. We do have some appointments, and we will use roll call on these, again, as an experiment. I'd like to take these separately. These are appointments that need confirmation of the board. So the first appointments are, as indicated, to the Board of Adjustment. Appointees are David Peterson, Joe Hurchin, and Sue Nelson. Chair would entertain a motion to confirm these appointments. Motion Malik, second Norton Bauman. Now, let's also try this. Motion, Supervisor Malik.
And then Sharon.
Second by Supervisor Norton Bauman. Please enter your second.
Okay.
Any discussion on the appointments? If not,
No, this is the point where, did I press the right button?
is everyone comfortable with your vote? Go ahead and announce the vote. Seconded the motion. Good point. And Malik made the motion. Okay.
Okay. So that's what, and at the bottom, it indicates the number, and it's a majority, and I could change for the majority from that to 2/3 or 3/4 or customize that in any way too. So, anyway, I should have changed the bottom.
Appears to work the way it was supposed to. Let's proceed to the appointments to Health and Human Services. Again, you can see the appointees, Leon Berenschot, former supervisor, Deb Rasmussen, and Dr. Lisa Ramsey. Chair would entertain a motion to confirm the appointments. Motion. Second, Supervisor Schrank.
Okay, I was gonna get the motions first.
Motion, Horn.
And then, Alfie, if you second.
Go
it,
ahead,
you need to
second.
Press second.
Press second, okay?
Okay, so any
Okay.
discussion?
Is there any discussion on the appointments?
Before they can vote, I have to switch to proceed. Okay.
Mhm.
You're okay?
Seeing no discussion, we'll proceed to vote.
Esther, you need to vote. I thought I voted. But you have to confirm.
You're in the
Okay,
press.
there you
Okay,
go.
there you go.
All right.
All right?
Do we try, I was gonna say, can we try experimenting for 1 second?
What would you like to do?
I was gonna take if I was to change mine right now, right? Or can you change, you can't change it once you've confirmed it, right?
I think the clerk has control over that, Supervisor Hermson.
Would you like me to reset yours?
No, well, cause I'm sure that would work. I was curious about.
But you've confirmed.
Oh, I've confirmed,
Yes.
so
Okay.
we'll try it on the next one.
Okay. Do you want it? You're fine? Okay, I'm gonna cancel that. So now everybody's okay?
Okay, announce the vote.
It's recording.
Okay. Now want to take one item out of order at this point. We have a number of reports that we are privileged to have tonight, and people that will be presenting these reports. I'd like to call Mary Squire to present the economic support report. I know that it's a little difficult for Mary to sit in a meeting, and Mary, this will give you the opportunity. You can remain and see all the fun we have, or if you feel the need to leave, you can leave.
You guys are really something. I would go for it. I didn't think we're gonna get it, Elfie. It's a good thing I'm leaving, because my staff is gonna want one of those, and so 2009, half of you have listened to me. Poor Linda gets to hear it again. 2009 was an horrendous year in economic support. The caseloads were just horrific. We couldn't possibly keep up. We had 3 family medical evacs in place, myself being one of them. We had someone post out because we were so overwhelmed with the cases. We increased by 685 cases in that year that we kept, and along with that, 780 cases the state took back from us. So that was a total of 1,465 cases that we would have been sitting on had the state not taken those, and we were down 3 people. So we did the very best we could, and finance allowed us in the middle of a year to hire a staff. We have everybody on board. We have a new supervisor coming in. One of our new people is trained. One of our new people is in training. She will be catching up soon. Our caseloads are going down drastically, which will help immensely. The Badger Care Plus basic plan is coming into play June 1. We anticipate that the phone calls will again come to the county, just as Badger Care Core came to the county. So that will take up some of our time, but with the 2 new staff that we were fortunate enough to get, we're really gonna be okay with that. Our dollar amounts for benefits this year don't look like they increased immensely. The Medicaid only went up a couple of $1 million, and the reason for that is because St. Croix County was one of the counties that didn't have an HMO. The state created HMOs for all Medicaid programs. However, west of Baldwin refused to take the HMOs, and so all of our clients had to go back on fee-for-service. We now, in 2009, River Falls, Hudson, and New Richmond all took the HMOs for the Medicaid recipients. That's why the count only went up $2 million, which was really a savings to the state, because last year it went up $20 million, and that was fee-for-service, and that's just St. Croix County. So you can imagine it was $6 billion for the state. So it was nice to see just the $2 million. The food share doesn't look like it went up very much. We had a lot of cases, but those transferred over to the Badger Care Core people at the state level, and they are all caught up. They have them all online. Finally, all of the applicants for Badger Care Core are in a system and are receiving benefits. It took about 10 months to get it done, but we did get it done. And the counties did come in and work on weekends to help the state pull that off. They never would have gotten it done without the counties coming in and working. We didn't have any fraud in the year 2009 for a couple of reasons. One, we went to the front-end verification system instead. We're required to do front-end verification. However, the state threw in the new requirement that we didn't have to verify. We could use self-declaration from clients because of the Badger Care Core program. The state didn't know how they would verify, so they couldn't make our clients verify. So everything was self-declaration, and what we were finding when the layoffs began, that people were coming in hordes, and they were very, very upset and anxious, and some of them angry, and we realized that they didn't think that unemployment was income, and they didn't think that benefit packages were any type of income. And so anytime anybody did a big layoff, we called the company and said, what are you giving for a package? We have to have it. So we actually saved $30,000 in benefits by contacting the employers as the layoffs started. We were one of the first phone calls that Anderson Windows would make, which was really kind of nice because we saved that $30,000. Those people would have gotten the benefits just by applying online because we didn't verify. We would have gone back eventually and said they had an overpayment after they had been unemployed for some time and tell them that they had to pay it back. So initially it was a bit of a shock to some of the people. However, we didn't go after them afterwards for any overpayments. Third-party liability collections are when someone receives Medicaid services and there's a third party liable to pay for it, be it insurance or lawsuits. We go after that money, and we did collect $161,000, which was a nice sum for us to collect. Of that, the state gives us 15% back for doing the paperwork for them. That's not a lot of money, but to us it's free money, and economic support has no income of any kind. That's the only income that we can get. Again, Badger Care Basic is going to start June 1. The premium will be $130 a month. I don't anticipate that very many people will take the program because those people are not going to be able to pay $130 a month. The co-pays are way too high. However, they're still going to call. They're still going to have questions and concerns about what they can do to get on one of these lists. They won't be required, but they are going to be calling, and those calls will come to my department, our department. We do have a new supervisor in place. You'll like her a lot. When you see her, I looked like that 35 years ago. I might even have been taller. I don't know. I'm not sure. Yes, she's a very, very bright young lady. She has the same passion that I do for this job. She just has a lot more energy than I do. So next time someone from economic support is here, it'll be Rhonda Brown Anderson. And that's why I didn't want to do this, Fred. Anybody have any questions? Butts.
First of all, thank you sincerely for your years of dedicated service, Mary. I did have one question, and it's about the caseloads on the last page.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed that from 2008 to 2009, there was a substantially higher number of caseloads than in previous years, and I wonder if that's attributable to any single or combination of factors.
Just the economy.
Okay.
That's the only thing that we could figure out was it's just plain the economy. And we lost cases with that. Those other ones went to the state when Badger Care Corps came into place. But a lot of people got laid off, and a lot of people kept their job part-time, or they got part-time jobs, but it wasn't enough for the health insurance. That's where we're getting hit the hardest. People don't have health coverage. And that's the most important thing. We're trying to get them to take the food share along with. Everybody doesn't want food share, and we remind on a daily basis that food share is not and never has been welfare. Food share is a USDA nutrition program, and it's out there for every person on an income basis. But it was just the economy, Buzz.
Thank you.
And Mary, you can't
Supervisor
leave
Hermsen.
right now. Oh, excuse me.
You mentioned there, I thought I heard you say about the number of people that received, or that you received a phone call from Anderson on concerned about the payback for benefits, or the overpayment.
Mm-hmm.
And did you say that there were a number of people that received overpayments?
No, they did not, because
they
we
didn't.
did the front end.
Oh.
We stopped it before we ever gave them any first benefits, and it was very hard. And some of them were really upset, and rightfully so. They were scared. They were very, very frightened. Nobody ever thought that many people at one time were going to walk out of Anderson window and come into my doors. But it did happen more than once, and We just had to explain to them that we have to look at every penny that they do get. Sharon?
Thank you. Do you have any idea, Mary, how whatever's gonna come out of the federal government for health insurance will impact the people coming to your door or to the new person's door?
I wish I knew more. I do know that the HMOs are going to save the state a lot of money, which means they'll be able to take on more clients. That will be very helpful because people continue to come through the doors for the Medicaid portion.
Any other questions for Mary?
And now we get to the best part. We get to recognize Mary for her 30 years of service, and Mary does not like to have a fuss made over her. And I know she's wanting to say something to me, but she won't do it in front of all you people. She'll wait till later, and then she'll tell me. But I want to tell you that I've known Mary for many years, and the one purpose in her life has been to serve people. She's done it well, she's done it with class, she's done it with sophistication. I've worked with her for about 10 years, going on 11 now, as a member of the Health and Human Services Board. And Mary has always been a lady that's come in eager to share her information with us, eager to take care of the people of the county, and most of all, to make sure that our employees were serving the people the way they should, giving them dignity, giving them respect, and most of all, giving them help. Mary, this plaque cannot say enough about the work that you have done for all of us and for the people of the county. It says, Certificate of Appreciation to Mary Squire in grateful appreciation for her 30 years of loyal and dedicated service to St. Croix County. Our sincere gratitude is extended to you for this, the 21st day of May 2010. Thank you, Mary. And I certainly know that Rhonda Brown Anderson is going to have some very big shoes to fill, and I hope she has them in as many colors as you do. It makes the day wonderful.
No, I didn't even wear them.
Oh, yes, clap my time. Take care.
Before we return to our regular agenda, I'm going to ask if any of the other presenters of reports tonight are under any kind of time pressure. Is there anyone that would prefer to give the report now? Give that an option and be respectful of your time? Sure. That's Gail, isn't it? We'll now have a report from the Fair Association. Gail Meyer.
That's great. Thank you very much for allowing me the opportunity. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Yeah, come on, it's kind of like church, you got to respond back. Okay.
Good evening, Gail.
Good evening. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, and guests. For those of you who may not know me, my name is Gail Meyer, and I'm Vice President of the St. Croix County Fair Board, and I'm pleased to be here this evening to present to you the St. Croix County Fair Association Annual Report. The St. Croix County Fair is a place where 4-H'ers, FFA members, Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, school classes, senior citizens, you, me, anyone of any age from all over St. Croix County can come together to share their knowledge, skills, passions, and creativity in a safe and fun environment that is going to foster learning, sharing, and excellence. If you are a junior fair exhibitor, you're going to enter projects such as electricity, foods and nutritions, drawing, woodworking, sewing, all those lovely things. Animal exhibits like cats and dogs and goats and horses and swines and llamas. And what's really, really neat about this is that the youth of our county can learn life skills, and they are exposed to many possible future career paths, too, that are open to them when they come to the fair. Open class exhibitors will bring you such timeless skills that are like gardening and canning and winemaking and quilting. Yes, there are people that still make wine, and I've had the privilege on occasion to sample some of the offerings at the fair too. I did not influence the judge, but they were just fine and dandy. Fine arts are celebrated here with exhibits like in drawing and painting and poetry. This, ladies and gentlemen, is our fair book. Now, the dates for the St. Croix County Fair this year are July 22nd through the 25th, which is Thursday through Sunday in Glenwood City. The theme this year is fun in your own backyard. And it is again the theme because we published a 2-year book last year for premiums. Now, fun in your own backyard represents the idea that St. Croix County is one community, and you don't have to go far or spend a lot of money to have fun and experience the best community event. This fair book has all the information that you're going to need to attend or exhibit in the open or junior fair classes. It contains judging schedules and rules and regulations and premium lists and entertainment schedules. Some of the things that we offer at the St. Croix entertainment stage, the fairgoers are going to be able to hear classic songs and familiar oldies from the Memories, who are joining us for the 23rd year this year. New to our fair, we are going to have an a cappella vocal group called Impulse. Now, while this group is going to be entertaining for everyone, I can pretty much guarantee that it's going to be especially popular with the young ladies. We also have a magic show and the 4-H style review and the show choir. The St. Croix County Sheriff's Department is also going to have your canine demonstration there. And there will be a battle of the bands, and the county talent show is always very, very packed. Always popular for the fairgoers are the petting zoo, the kiddie tractor pull, the draft horse hitch show, and the mud volleyball. Now, this year, we are also going to have a bingo tent, so we're looking forward to getting that rolling. If the wine of Injuns is more to fairgoers' liking, our Tiffany Creek Special Events area features a 100-plus hitch tractor pull, 4x4 mud races, and an antique tractor pull. Of course, no fair is complete without midway rides and games, and everyone, of course, looks forward to the fair food. You can find hamburgers and malts and sweet corn and brats and deep-fried cheese curds and kebabs and pork chops on a stick, a breakfast brat on a stick, cotton candy, cookies and ice cream, and all that and a lot more. We do have a few copies of the 2010 Fair Book, and we will bring those down to the courthouse soon and deliver those. Please take one, look it over to see what's offered at the fair. Should you decide to enter your prize-winning pickles or woodworking masterpiece, heirloom quilt, or even your family pet rabbit, there are open class forms in the back of the book, as well as you can find more information on our website, which is www.stcroixcofair.com. You may not know this, but the St. Croix County Fair is a free fair. We do not charge admission to any of the exhibit buildings, barns, show arenas, or the entertainment court. It's one of the few counties in the whole state of Wisconsin that does not charge an admission fee. We do charge to park on the grounds, and the Tiffany Creek Events area also requires an admission fee to attend those special events there. In the past, I have asked how many of you have ever attended the St. Croix County Fair, and I've been pleasantly surprised that there were so many of you that had experienced this great community event. For those of you who have not ever been to the fair, or if it has been a few years, I sincerely hope that you'll take the opportunity to see for yourself the 41-acre complex that is home to the St. Croix County Fair. Did you know that the fair in Glenwood City has been a 100-year tradition for our county? A very special celebration will be held to commemorate this historic occasion. A centennial celebration of St. Croix County Fairs will take place during our fair this year, July 22nd through the 25th. I have some
acrostic examples which the youth of our county have put together. And I'm just going to quickly set these on the tables and let you kind of pass them around. Just kind of go this way. This was a contest that was put out to 4-H members to compose. We have the word centennial down the middle, and then what they had to come up with words that signified what it means to go to the fair. There are many events and activities that are being planned also for this special weekend, but among events to be featured will be displays and demonstrations of old-time knitting and crocheting, weaving, spinning, and felting. We're going to have a barbershop quartet, Summertime, who will share their talents with us on Friday afternoon. During their breaks, our very first fair queen, Ethel McLaughlin from Hammond, is expected to be on hand to share her memories and stories of the fair. If I could interject right here, do you recall what year that was, Buzz?
I'm sorry, I don't.
Okay, I don't either.
Tracy Davis from the aging office
Okay.
arranged it with Ethel.
Okay, I'm sure it wasn't 1910, but she's not quite that old. But anyway, she will be there, and we're looking forward to that. On Saturday, July 24th, there'll be an antique car display featuring vintage automobiles and trucks that are 1935 years, from year 1935 and older. In addition, through the generosity of the St. Croix County and Glenwood City Historical Societies, there are going to be displays of antique farm equipment, hand-operated machines of yesteryear. We're going to have demonstrations of butter churning and ice cream making, and those will be held throughout the weekend. We are also pleased to announce that there will be a demonstration to show how cows were milked by hand in the old days. In fact, there's going to be a friendly hand milking competition, and the Centennial Committee is looking for volunteers to go up against a few celebrity milkers. Anybody interested?
I'll take that challenge.
All right, there you go, you got one. Okay. The 2009 County Fair was a huge success. We had almost perfect weather for the weekend, and the attendance is estimated between 20 to 25,000 spectators and exhibitors combined. All the exhibits, entertainment, and special events made for a fantastic 4-day event. Our receipts and our attendance were both up from 2009, and we're expecting, as were the open class exhibits, and we are really, really looking forward to a 2010 successful turnout as well. The Fair Board is always looking for ways to help with the profit line of our finances. We turn in a budget and a report to the County Finance Committee. We send in state reports and all those kind of things, but we're always looking for ways to increase our revenue and to help us with such things as capital improvements. So non-fair income is generated through a variety of ways, such as winter storage and facility user fees. These facility user fees are collected for such events as outside tractor pulls, estate auctions, traveling circuses, and numerous youth events. For example, the grounds are going to be used this year for a multi-county fitting and showing clinic for meat and animal projects, and I believe that's with St. Croix, Pierce, and Dunn counties. They're going to combine to do that. We have dairy clinics and a District Guernsey show that's held on the grounds, numerous horse clinics and events. In fact, this year we're going to host the Wisconsin Girls Barrel Racing Association competition, and we're going to have all-day horse shows, and there's going to be the second annual open carry picnic. Speaking of the horse committee, they're very, very much go-getters, and over the last 3 years, they themselves have raised over $32,000 through a stall drive in which they have purchased 44 box stalls to be used at the fairgrounds. The profit or the project for the horses keeps growing, and now they are estimating that there are going to be over 60 horses this year, and they're going to have to get more stalls. Over the years, the Fair Board has tried to get some, or to set some goals for the future regarding the many needs for improvements and enhancements to the grounds and facilities. Little by little, as funds allow, we have been able to cross a few things off our wish list. Unfortunately, we are not in a position to complete any major capital improvements this year due to budget constraints. But we are very excited about the movement to build a new dairy barn on the fairgrounds. A May Fair event and sale was co-sponsored by the Dairy Committee and the Friends of the Fairplex to help raise funds specifically for this project. It featured live music and kids activities, live and silent auctions, and of course, delicious food. They were able to raise $30,000 in one day and hope to repeat this event next year so we can continue with our building projects. However, as always, our needs are many and our funds are few. We continue with our long-term vision and the fundraising efforts of our master plan to renovate and improve the fairgrounds. Our positioning statement, Renovations for Generations, spearheads these goals. We have had some success with this campaign, and we are determined to move forward with the opportunity to develop the best fairgrounds possible for the enjoyment of all in St. Croix County. So far, we have been able to build 2 new outdoor arenas. We have planted a number of shade trees, and of course, as you may remember, we have restored the Tiffany Creek to a Class 1 trout stream. Did I mention that we have a rodeo on the fairgrounds? This summer, we will host the 3rd annual PRCA Rodeo. Bob Barnes is the rodeo stock contractor, and you will see Pro Rodeo's toughest competitors go up against top-notch, rough and rugged rodeo stock. There will be some high-class rodeo for everyone to enjoy with 2 nights of action on June 18th and 19th. And yes, that is Father's Day weekend, so save the date. Friday night is Military Appreciation Night with admission discounts for military personnel. And we have the Hillbilly Mafia Band performing after that rodeo show. Saturday is Family Day, and we will have a petting zoo, those inflatable things that the kids can bounce in, pony rides. Some of the kids' activities are going to be things like a nickel scramble, a calf scramble, and a boot scramble. Both nights there's going to be mutton busting contest, which is immensely popular and a big draw. 2009 rodeo was a good success. We showed a profit of about $7,000 that was put back into our maintenance and improvement fund. We purchased more bleachers and we upgraded electrical with that money. Copies of the itinerary for the rodeo are on the back table, and I hope that you would take one, check it out, and come and visit us. I am looking, though, for volunteers to help take tickets, work the entrance gates, man the quilt table, or work on the garbage crew detail. So if you or someone you know is interested in helping with those rodeo jobs, please give me a little holler. Putting together the St. Croix County Fair is a year-round process. When full, the Fair Board consists of 15 directors who, as a whole, or divided into committees, handle every aspect of managing the fair. However, the St. Croix County Fair would not be the success it is without all the people who help. We have hundreds of volunteers. We have Extension Office personnel, homemakers, 4-H Leaders Council, and of course, the county board representatives in this organization to our fair. I would like to recognize and thank members Jean Ritz, Buzz Marsloff, and Alfie Shrink. These gentlemen play an active and vital role on our board, and we truly, truly appreciate their participation. Last but not least by any means, you, the St. Croix County Board, is also responsible for the success of the fair. With your continued financial support, St. Croix County enjoys one of the finest fairs in the state. I've said this every year, but it continues to be so true. This great community event impacts people all over the county. It is a great experience that is not offered at any school or any job. It is a place for people to meet and socialize, to entertain and be entertained. The St. Croix County Fair is a summer tradition that is as relevant and thriving today as it has been since its inception. It cultivates curiosity, learning, creativity, and leadership skills in our youth who participates. For the adults of St. Croix County, the fair provides a place to cultivate cultural and fine arts. It serves as a place to display and share our heritage and connect with others. What you help provide is an opportunity for all youth and people of all ages in our county to showcase their talents and accomplishments and to be recognized for a job well done. Perhaps the most profound explanation of what the fair means are in the words of Kelsey Kirkwood of the Hudson Trailblazers 4-H Club. When asked to use the letters of Centennial to make her acrostic of words that describe the fair, she used these words: community, entertainment, new friends, teamwork, energy, neighbors, nighttime, integrity, animals, and laughter. On behalf of the entire Fair Board, I would like to thank you for your continued support and invite you to join us for some fun in your own backyard as we celebrate this great community event, the St. Croix County Fair. Thank you. Are there any questions?
Are there any comments from any of the supervisor appointees? Anything that you want to say, Alfie or Jean or Buzz?
No, we can use all the volunteers we can.
We can. We might be a little bit short-handed this year. In the past, we have always been very, very fortunate to have the pre-release program from New Richmond help us with a lot of the setup and a lot of the work. And I'm not 100% sure, but I do not believe that that will be possible this year. We have been told that that won't be an option. So we're going to need a lot of volunteer help.
Buzz?
Mr. Chairman, as a volunteer to participate in the cow milking contest, one of your adversaries is Sheila Harsdorf.
Sheila and I have competed in a number of things.
So be it, huh?
Actually, I'm Sheila's treasurer right now, and I can tell you, I'll go on the record and say I can beat Sheila in the cow milking contest. Jean?
Yeah, just to add one thing. We do, and we are going to miss Lee Milligan a heck of a lot. He was very important to the fair. He did an awful lot of things on his own to get it done. We don't have that, so some of us are gonna have to try to cover that.
We're in the process of identifying a lot of what he did so that we can fill in and take up the slack and kind of, hopefully be able to manage, like Jean said, so many things that he did were unbeknownst to so many of it, they just got done. So we'll see how this year goes. Thank you very much.
Any other questions of any kind for Gail? Gail, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Appreciate
Thank
the
you.
job you do. We're going to return to the regular agenda unless, going second time, anyone feels compelled to take advantage of this slot for a report. Otherwise, we'll return to the agenda and then we'll complete. Ron, Kathy, either of you? Marie? Just want to be respectful of your time as much as possible. Kathy Dunlap, and Kathy is going to present the report on family and children's. And then I think you and Ron are going to tag team a little bit.
Correct.
So
Yes.
I'll just turn it over to you. Kathy Dunlap.
Family and Children's Services, you have a copy of our annual report, so I'm not going to talk about much of what's in here. I'll tell you other things. Bottom line is with Family and Children's, we have no wait lists. We're not allowed to have wait lists. We have very strict timelines that we have to respond to calls that we receive. Anyone can make a child protection referral. Anyone can say anything in that referral, and based on what they say, we make the decision as if we do an investigation or not. We don't get to charge for those services. We don't get to charge for social work time. The only thing that we're allowed to charge families for is if there's an out-of-home placement. And the charging then that goes to the family is based on the child support standard. Many of our families, that means zero, but we do try to collect what we can collect. We've dealt with over 1,000 families this year in both child protection and juvenile delinquency. Lots of child protection referrals. We've had 238 ongoing juvenile justice cases. Those are the delinquency, truancy cases. 81 ongoing child protection cases. We've done a handful of termination of parental rights in 2009. One of the things I think that I want to talk to you most about today is if you'll look on the third page of your report, it talks about our out-of-home placement. In that you see that bottom line, if you look at the totals and go across, we've had 8,612 days of placement this year, and those placements averaged out to be $143, which totals $1.2 million we spent in out-of-home care. That only accounts for the current 22 children that we have in out-of-home care. Placements are very, very expensive. As you can see, some of our placements range $270 per day. Sounds like a lot of money, but I guess what I want to do is compare us to Eau Claire County and La Crosse County. Similar in size, we're all in the western region. In the state of Wisconsin, we all go by the same rules, by the same regulations, what cases we investigate for child protection, our delinquency rules are the same, and our out-of-home care reasons are the same, or should be. We currently have 22 kids in care. La Crosse County, our population, as you all know, is approximately 82,000 people. La Crosse County, approximate population of 110,000 people. They have 106 children in care. Eau Claire County, 93,000 population. They have 126 children currently in care. If you translate all of that out, if we had those same percentages, and the Eau Claire and La Crosse numbers are not in here. I said I'm just talking, because you can read what's in here. But if we had those same percentages as Eau Claire and La Crosse, and I'm not telling you for one moment that the children that they have in care don't belong in care. I firmly believe that they do. I told you, we spent $1.23 million last year for kids in out-of-home care. If we would translate it as La Crosse and Eau Claire County, we would be spending, if we compared ourselves to Eau Claire, we would have spent $6.2 million, because that would have meant we would have had 111 kids. La Crosse County, same percentages applied, we would have had 79 kids in care and spent $4.4 million. That's a lot of money. Talked to my staff today about this and said, what do you think, guys? I have some reasons that I think we are very successful in keeping our placements down. One of them certainly is luck. Another is that I have really good staff. I have hardworking staff. I have well-trained staff. I have staff who really, truly care about the job that they do and the families that they deal with. I said, okay, so those are my ideas. What do you guys have to say? And they thought a bit and they said, well, you know, we're experienced. We have good employee retention in the Family and Children's Department. We know our jobs, and that certainly has better productivity. We also have younger folks that come in periodically, and that energizes us. We we look at permanence for kids. All counties look at permanence for kids. We search very hard for relatives. We believe children, if they can't be safe in their own home, they belong with family if they can be safe in that home. I can't imagine for the life of me how my grandchildren who are 4 and 6 would react if we removed them from their home and placed them with strangers. I mean, think about that, what destruction that does, and that does kids more harm than good. But then, aside from placing them with the relatives, we continue to work with the relatives to make those placements safe, and to keep them safe, and to keep the kids adjusted, and to assist the relatives in providing a good, safe home for the kids. Those were some of the ideas that they came up with today. We're not saying that La Crosse doesn't do this. We're not saying that Eau Claire doesn't do this. We just, I think, happen to do a really fine job. Now, you might think, oh yeah, sure, you guys have more social workers than they do. You have a very, small thing. Well, I don't have their current social work numbers, but what I can tell you in 2008, just in their child protection department, where I have 9 social workers, which is investigations and ongoing, La Crosse had 23, and Eau Claire had 15. I have 6 other social workers in my juvenile justice unit for a total of 15. So I can guarantee you we're not staffed higher than either of these 2 counties. Because I know the juvenile justice in Eau Claire, which is separate from their child protection, they have numerous social workers, and so does La Crosse. So, questions? Yes, sir.
Thank you. I just, there's a vocabulary word that I don't understand, and I wondered if you could clarify
Oh,
it.
well,
On the spreadsheet on page 2, about the 6th line from the bottom with theft, forgery, there's another offense
Oh,
called
utterance.
Utterance.
It's
What is that?
utterance of a forged document. It's forging a document.
Forging a document.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just a different way for forgery.
Steve?
Thank you, Board Chair. I think this is very much like the report you gave last year.
Yes.
I recall
It is.
that you had used the comparison how low St. Croix County was compared to other counties.
I believe it was La Crosse and Eau Claire also.
And I guess I'm surprised or still confused even after yet this year of why so proportionally we'd be so much lower. And I'm thinking I'm gonna give the staff here to be I wouldn't call it, I don't wanna say it that way, saying you're 3 times better.
I wouldn't either. I
guess
wouldn't
I'm just
either.
trying to say that I'm trying to give everything all being compared from a staffing point. So what I'm wondering is it possible that it's due to income levels, which I think Eau Claire County and La Crosse County are probably pretty close to what we are. Is it makeup of families that would have caused such a different proportion? There's got to be some other factor that's playing in here that we just can't seem to recognize.
I have talked with Eau Claire and La Crosse time and time again about this, or actually they have talked with us because they would like their numbers to go down. They don't know why. The income level is certainly less in both La Crosse and Eau Claire, but not drastically. We talked about this today again at my staff meetings. Do they have more gang kids? I don't know. Do they have, more formalized gang? I don't know.
Is it possible that the family mix in those counties is of a younger, where maybe we have families with more kids, adult to children ratio maybe, or I would think job, the unemployment rate, that's where I'm between St. Croix County, La Crosse, and Eau Claire, they've all got to be pretty close that way.
I would think.
So I'm just
I don't know. I mean, I look at my child protection cases, I look at those, and that's what I'm most familiar with because I directly supervise the child protection access unit or an assessment unit. I haven't seen over the years that there's that much difference in what in our household mix-ups as far as single parents, both parents, age of parents, economic level. I deal with families who make lots and lots of money, and we deal with families who make next to nothing. Economically, really, child protection economics don't really have a lot to do with child protection. You can find some exceptionally wealthy people who neglect their children or physically or sexually abuse them, as well as the poor. I can't answer why, La Crosse can't answer why, and neither can Eau Claire. They would like the magic that we have, and I don't know what it is, but I'm wanting to keep it. Part of the reason, when I talked about the $1.2 million that we spent in family and children's, we recouped back from that $200,000 because of the youth community support program. And I neglected to say that that was the very first thing that my staff talked about when they gave their ideas of why it was that family and children's has fewer out-of-home placements, and it's because we have the Youth Community Support Services department. We have a wonderful wraparound program in that department. You've all heard Ron and myself speak about this numerous times in the past. We've talked about it from the standpoint that kids in certain types of care and services for kids, we can recoup 60% of that, of those dollars that family and children spends if these kids are on the waiver. This waiver unit serves children who have physical disabilities, developmental disabilities, but those that affect my family and children's department more are those with the emotional disabilities, severe emotional disturbance. And so some of those kids that are in out-of-home care and do receive other services, we are able to work very collaboratively with that department in order to get dollars back. So we took $200,000 that Family and Children's was able to, or Youth Community Support Services was able to recover for the Family and Children's Department. Family and Children's also collaborates well with behavioral health, economic support with all the Sheriff's Department, all departments within our county, which is another positive for us. The Youth Community Support Services, Ron's going to talk most about, but recovery, independence for those kids. They're not short-term children as maybe Family and Children's is because of their more severe disabilities. Our goal is certainly in children who have severe developmental disabilities or physical disabilities, you know, they're not going to recover. But what they can do is be as independent as they can be. They can use community supports, not rely on the government, but rely on their neighbors, rely on their churches, to make them as independent as possible. And that's a huge goal. Health and safety, our main factor.
We're looking at the page, it's a two-page flyer here that says Youth Community Support Services at the top. And that's why I kind of joined here, because the question, I think, begged the segue to why are we doing so well in St. Croix County? In part, not saying that Eau Claire and La Crosse don't have versions of this, but how well we've constructed this and how interconnected it is between behavioral health, which is a collection of services, and family and children's, which is a collection of services, is I think why you see the dramatic number shifts within St. Croix County. You can see midway down that first page, what we provide is coordinated family services. So as a part of this unit, we work with families as a team process. We keep the family at the center of the wheel. The spokes on the wheel could be doctors, it could be teachers, they could be football coaches, they could be relatives, uncles, aunts. And so bringing those collections of people together and deciding what the individualized care plan will be, getting everyone on the same page so that you don't have a fragmented system of care where no one knows what the other person is doing, is vital to keeping kids in their home and in a productive, in the home in a productive manner. The next couple of items talk about the waivers, and that underscores the funding. There's the children's long-term support waivers, which are the severely emotionally disturbed, developmentally disabled, and physically disabled. That draws down federal dollars, state dollars to the county. And then the family support program, that adds additional dollars for services that these individuals are needing. Targeted case management is again a service where if someone is needing to help coordinate their life a little bit, to help them get them pointed in the right direction, link in a few services without an intensive team wrapped around them. That's what targeted case management refers to, assessment referral, and then outreach. So as we talk about youth community support services, that's the collection of services we're talking about. How it came to be is through a grant initially, and then through Family and Children's reallocating their department resources into this unit, and Behavioral Health reallocating some of its resources, meaning staff, into this unit. So this unit started with one person with a grant and has now grown to 6 or 7 social workers and a supervisor and a program aide. And so it's probably one of the most rapidly growing units in Health and Human Services, but it's rapidly growing because other units around it are contributing to that. So it's not just overall increase the FTE within the county, it's a matter of how we kind of shuffle the deck and create a better mix and a more efficient delivery of service. A couple things at the bottom of the page just want to highlight. Again, don't want to read the whole document. As Kathy doesn't either, but the Youth Community Support Department continued to provide services to individuals that have health and safety needs. And that's real important because we get tons and tons and tons and tons of requests for all sorts of services. And what we try to do is evaluate which ones of those are health and safety related and which ones of those would be more wishes and wants that wouldn't directly relate to the health and safety of the child and or their family. So no dollars were spent in the non-health and safety service, and we kind of highlighted that at the top of the page. We opened 157 new programs for children, 111 intakes in 2009, and we served 470 kids in YCSS. Now, even having done that, we did have, at the end of the year, a waiting list of 88 individuals. But those individuals did not exhibit health and safety needs, and so the reason why they're being kept on that list is mainly due to the new state regulations on how we have to put certain folks on and leave them on and not take them off until certain events happen. And so it's a bit complicated, unfortunately for us, to try and keep track of all that. Because if someone does come on with a health and safety need, we have to evaluate then how that individual is more importantly requiring services or needs services more than the other 88 that are on the list, and that is a bit time consuming.
And you must go through each one of the 88 and explain why 89 should be served before 1 through 88. And, I mean, and talk about 1, 2, 3, 4. It's silly.
It's a bureaucratic system that we would like changed, but that's for the folks sitting down in Madison, unfortunately. And then in 2000, what's that?
Could Senator Harsveld change that?
To be honest, I will give you my personal opinion as to why it is what it is. This came back into being after we were given, and all counties were given dollars. We were given $278,000 to take children off waiting lists. If we went to number 89 on the waiting list and number 102 on the waiting list, used our dollars to serve those, they would say, oh, okay, well, you're only doing 2 kids. But if you have to go through 1 through 88 before you can get to 89, they can then say, oh, 88 children were looked at. So frankly, personally, I think it's a political thing. Could Senator Harsdorf potentially change that? That'd be nice.
And we would welcome it.
Yes.
What kinds of things would keep a child on a waiting list, 1 through 88, compared to those that have safety or other needs?
Because the parent wants the child on the list. They may have no need. If a parent says, I'd like my child has a physical disability, they meet certain standards, although all their needs are being taken care of currently by family, by the community, or they get to stay there. Even though we have assessed they have no needs. We took all these kids off our waiting list and we were made to, in 2009, put them all back on.
Someone may want their child on because they don't know what the future holds and
Right.
feel if their child's condition worsens, that at least then they're on the list, even though they have no current needs. So
And-
there are realistic reasons why a family may want to have them on the list, even though they don't have any current assessed need.
Although we have made it known to everyone that we will serve all children with health and safety needs. Our board has been very clear to us, if you come across a child who has health and safety needs, they must be served. And if they weren't served in this program, they would have to be served via child protection or the Family and Children's Department anyway. So our board's been very clear to us. We don't have children in St. Croix County with health and safety needs that we're aware of that we're not providing service for.
It isn't costing us anything to have them on the waiting list, right?
It doesn't
I mean-
cost us anything except the time that it takes to say why we're not servicing them when we have,
Every time you get a new referral.
right. So in essence, yes, it does cost us.
It's bureaucratic cost. The only other thing we wanted to highlight here, there's other things on the page, and we could have put it in the Family and Children's report, we could have put it in the Behavioral Health report. We decided to just talk about it once here, and that's the middle page on page 2. In 2009, YCSS collaborated with Family and Children's, Behavioral Health Departments, with the Sheriff's Department, Public Defender's Office, Circuit County Court, to investigate the possibility of creating a juvenile treatment court process to work with high-risk kids. The decision was made to move forward with the development of that after we had received a grant to help fund that process. And so that is now up and running. I believe they've got 3.
4.
Fourth one has been added.
Yes.
And so.
Began in May of 2010. We put this particular, we decided to keep it mainly in the YCSS department because then we can, again, once the grant is finished, recoup some federal dollars through the waiver for the services that this person provides, which you couldn't do in the Family and Children's Department.
So for sustainability is the
Right.
reason why it's in that program.
Oh, and that was also in collaboration with the county drug coalition. Yes.
I find it's interesting hearing your frustrations on
You can tell,
on
huh?
trying to deal and administer a program. And a thought occurred to me, is there something that we as a board can do to make your time, let's say, more efficient, or that the service could be more efficient and less costly to the county? Is that, from what I heard here, it sounds like you're airing a complaint, and some ability, we should probably be trying to address it.
What we are doing is, because this rule has just not that long ago been imposed upon us, we're coming up with our verbiage for 1 through 88. And so when we want to go to 89, we will have it ready to go. This is why 1 doesn't need the service. This is why 2 doesn't need the service. This is why 3 doesn't need the service.
Almost a boilerplate.
Almost a
type of-
boilerplate type thing. And the crazy thing about it all, you want to hear my real frustrations, the crazy thing about it all is some of them you have to get disability determinations on. And so you send that kid's information to the state. We have kids who have been waiting for this determination for, I believe it's 4 months. We can't add the people after them until the state does their job on the ones with the, making their own determination on them. It's like they're saying to us, you need to do this, you need to spend this money by July so that we can keep giving it to your county, but yet they're just putting all these little nails and roadblocks in our way in order to do that. But we do, you know, we're moving forth. And it's new, and it's good. I mean, it's, when this program started, how many years ago? 5 years ago, we were serving about 25 kids. We're serving 480 kids now. And they all need it. Their families all need it.
You get to listen to our complaints once a year. I have to listen to them 250
Yeah.
days.
It's true.
So the question is, though, you're saying,
Yeah.
from a county board standpoint or from Health and Human Services Committee standpoint, you don't think we could put a little jolt into somebody to make your life a little easier?
Well,
What
gee,
about a resolution?
yeah,
or,
you know.
Talking with the Sheilas of the world?
Sheila's of
All
the
of it's
world,
good,
all
yeah,
of it's very
possible.
good. All of it's very good. We would appreciate any help.
Probably should be brought through the home committee and
And certainly, you know, the deputy, what's her name? The one who sets all these, yeah, Deputy Timberlake, yeah. Thank you. I'll leave you to
On to behavioral health. Again, behavioral health is on a document, starts like this. I think it should run for about 6 pages. In the middle there, just want to highlight that, again, behavioral health is an umbrella term. It's an umbrella for programming that includes mental health outpatient, so traditional clinical therapy, psychiatry, psychological testing, AODA, AODA counselor, and IDP assessment, drunk driver program assessment, the community support program, which works with the chronic mentally ill, 17 and a half and older, coordinated family services, again, an adult-based wraparound team, much like the wraparound team we were talking about with youth community support services, targeted case management, which is, again, for adults, like it was for kids, when an individual just needs to kind of be pointed in the right direction, a few linkages are made, and they can be sent on their way. And then emergency services. So for all of those different groups, if individuals go into crisis, then we have to run an emergency service program for that. On the right-hand side, then you see the services that we purchase. We don't run through New Richmond, and that includes the psychological services are contracted for, psychiatric services, acute inpatient, acute chemical dependency detox, and transitional living. A couple of highlights on this first page at the end. One is the financial status, and I wanted to draw your attention to the fact that 37% of our population through behavioral services is Medicaid insured, 10% Medicare, 22% private pay, and 31% indigent or self-pay, so they would be uninsured. If you flip the page to page 2 and look at the graphs that I had assembled, I went back in time and looked at the numbers from 2001 through this last board report, 2009. And the alarming trend is that we have on the very top graph, it's labeled by boxes, and it's labeled at the bottom with Medicare. Private insurance. The triangle underneath that, points, show the Medicare. So Medicare and private pay is declining. And the private pay declining at a somewhat more alarming rate. Back in 2001, about 37% of our population that we served came to us with some sort of third-party insurance, which typically pays the best. In 2009, we were down to about 22.5% of the individuals came to us with a third-party insurance. Now, there could be a number of reasons why that would be. One could be recession, but if you're going to make the recession argument, then you would have to also suggest that we were in recession the entire decade that started the new millennium. And if that's the argument you make, well then that would be a good reason. If you believe that we've only been in a recession or steep recession the last 3-4 years, well then that wouldn't account for the declining numbers earlier in the year. What I threw in was the straight line is a linear regression line, and that is a statistically valid representation of the averages of all of those points on the grid. It takes each point in relationship to another point, and I'm sure folks have seen regression lines. That's what that does. I didn't calculate all that. It's simply in Outlook or in Excel, you push a button and it throws that statistical analysis in there for you to kind of see a more realistic trend of where things may be going. At the bottom of the page then, we look at the Medicaid and self-pay, and those are positive slopes. So if one were to, again, extend these into the future, what one might say is, all things being equal, we will continue to increase our Medicaid and self-pay populations, which pay the worst, unfortunately, and we will have declining numbers with the private pay and Medicare, which can pay a bit better. So the note that I had at the very bottom of the first page is hopefully not too dour. I wanted to put it on there to be as realistic as possible, and that is that the trend is likely to continue unless we were to add additional therapists, which we don't really have space up in Richmond to house them, but you would have to put on more therapists in order to attract the individuals with insurance in order to reverse that trend. Short of doing that, what I would predict is you will see future budgets requiring increased county levy in order to balance the budget if we're going to provide the same level of care. As we go on through that, mental health services, the highlight there is that we do have a significant level of referrals from family and children's and from court order services. And so that's the piece of trying to decrease our current level service any further than what it is then we start to affect the interconnectedness with other departments and other agencies within our county who are supplying us with a significant number of referrals. Down in the CSP, or the Community Support Program, which deals with the chronic mentally ill, a couple of highlights there in the second paragraph. We had 99 clients in 2009. Only 7 of those were hospitalized, so less than 10%. We put a goal of 10% in our recertification, so when we have that less than 10%, we're proud of that. In terms of individuals housed at the Institution for Mental Disease, like Trempealeau, which is a nursing home that can handle mentally ill individuals in a locked setting. We only had one client go there all of last year. And the most important piece there for me, and so in mine here I highlighted it not in yellow, I highlighted in green, is that we were pleased to report that we had 0 suicides in 2009. Unfortunately, as folks have listened to the news and other various sources, with the death last weekend, I believe that brings us to 9 suicides since the middle of February in St. Croix County or northern Pierce County. We only had 35 suicides total from 2001 through 2006. So in a 6-year period, we only had 35. And in this last month, or last 2 months, 3 months, I'm sorry, in the last 3 months, we've now had the better part of 8 or 9. So that is an alarming trend that we are trying to get our arms around and do some things within the community. We were down in River Falls putting on a suicide prevention seminar, and hopefully that will be shown on cable access from time to time, because I think there's a lot of good information that we provided there. CSP, again, another highlight there. It's a program that cost close to $1 million, just under $950,000. Of that, we only applied $7,726, or 0.8% of that came from county levy. And if you work the numbers, that's about 21 cents a day. That's a pretty good deal in terms of serving that population. When you take that in comparison, that putting those individuals who are highly hospital prone in a hospital bed, and those hospital beds cost $1,150 a day. So the CSP has been, since its inception back in the early 90s, April of 90, we began that program, so almost 2 decades ago now. We found it to be a very helpful program, both in terms of cost effectiveness and also in terms of keeping people out of institutions and alive. It may seem like fairly basic goals, but those are the 2 goals that they keep very close to their heart. Keep them out of institutions and keep those folks alive, and they're doing good. The emergency services, just a couple highlights there. We've been running a mobile diversion program since January 2006. I've talked about that at previous boards. Highlight is that in June of 2009, June 30th, the Wisconsin law changed as part of a budget bill, which requires behavioral health to go out and do an assessment prior to law enforcement being able to emergency detain. That's significant. If you look at the page 4 with these 2 graphs here, at the top there, I listed that the graphs below depict the emergency detentions over the last 9 years. If you take 2001 to 2005, you've got a positive slope. That's before we put in mobile crisis. After we put in mobile crisis in 2006, we're starting now to have a negative slope. And that's good, because what that's showing is that by going out and meeting law enforcement on site, whether it's the Sheriff's Department, whether it's New Richmond PD, whether it's the folks from Hammond or Baldwin, our ability to go out there with them, assess and make decisions is diverting more and more individuals. Currently, 40% of the individuals that we meet with are being diverted. And that's good for a number of reasons. It's good for the consumer's pocketbook, because the bills that we establish by law need to be turned over to them. It keeps them out of handcuffs. They don't get stuffed in the back of a squad car. They don't take a trip down to Mendota. So it's a much more dignified manner of treating individuals. It keeps them closer to home and in services that are more easily accessed and more regularly accessed to them.
Ron, a question?
Could I interrupt you right there, Ron, to ask you what law enforcement does with people while they are waiting for your people to arrive at the scene? Do they bring them into the jail? Do they keep them in the squad car? Do they watch them at a home? Or what do they do?
A variety of all of those things. Sometimes they're kept at home, depending on the situation. A couple of them that we had in River Falls a couple weekends ago, they had transported them to the River Falls Hospital because there were some medical issues that were going on. They have been transported in the meantime to the police station, not necessarily the jail, but their home precinct. A number of these are taking places at the school or school entity, and so we're going out and meeting them there with the school liaison officer that's out there. What you will hear is that from the time they arrive to the time the worker shows up on site, it could be somewhere between, a half hour and 40 minutes. Because what we try to keep it is 20 to 30 minutes from the time mobile is dispatched to the time they arrive on scene. But there's 10 to 15, 20-minute play in sorting out exactly what needs to happen. So there can be about, 40, let's say 45-minute delay. And then it's about an hour's worth of an assessment. So law enforcement could spend 2 hours on a call. And in the old world, that was seen as way, way too high, because let's cuff them, stuff them, and take them to St. Joe's, which is 12 miles down the road, or take them to Cumberland, which is about a 45-minute drive to the north. That cuts our time in half, correct? I think the math, you do that, makes some sense. However, when you do that collectively from not only St. Croix County, but then you do that with Pierce County and Polk County and Dunn County and Eau Claire County and Chippewa County and Washburn County, which are all doing it. There's 11 counties in this region. Well, then what happens is you're not sending folks to Mendota, Winnebago, which are about 10-hour round trip stays. And so in 2003, before we had mobile, we had 67 trips back and forth to Mendota. And back then, law enforcement were complaining, Ron, I literally have people crossing each other, one taking it and the other one coming back from a court hearing. What can we do? What we did was we came up with a voluntary system of mobile crisis. In the first 6 months of '09, we had budgeted for Mendota, Winnebago, $120,000. That was our budget. In the first 6 months, we spent 185% of that budget, or close to $211,000. Then the law changed on June 30th, and from June 30th till today, we've had 2 admissions to Mendota, one for 4 days and one for 3 days, totaling somewhere around $8,700. So we were on pace for doing, out of a $120,000 budget, we're on pace for about $422,000. And what we trimmed that back was significantly because of not only what we're doing, but collectively when you do that, it means that the beds that are locally are no longer clogged up by people that don't need to be there. And so then the people that really do need to be there, and there are those folks that do, well then they can go there instead. And so it's kind of a ripple on the pond, you know what I mean? It creates a bunch of other waves that you're not necessarily anticipating. One of the waves that it's creating for us now, as we realize the depth of what we've gotten into, is that the diversion point is simply one point in time. Something has to happen after that diversion point, or the crisis tends to re-ensue. So we have a staff, and we're looking to reorganize, and I brought this to the Health and Human Services Board last time we met, look to reorganize in ways that don't create FTEs or any sort of major budget complications, but reallocate more time to tracking the individuals, setting up their appointments, getting them into therapy, going out with social workers to meet with them and talk with them. Because once you've created diversion, now you have to do something with those individuals, and what you need to do with them is you need to get them into service. because simply not putting them in a hospital and hoping for good things to happen isn't the answer. It is the answer not to put them in a hospital, but then we have to take the next step to make sure that the resources in the community are there so that those individuals don't become suicidal all over again. And so what happens then is a crisis plan or a safety plan is put in place, and that safety plan then outlines what are the next steps those individuals are going to do over the next 24 to 72 hours to ensure that their stability is maintained. And a lot of that is getting them connected with the various services, mental health, AOGA, and others. If I can quick go on here and then finish up. AOGA services, a lot of good information in that paragraph. I had a hard time picking just one point out of there, but what I did was in the middle, where drug court was developed in 2006. It treated the chemically dependent client who was not responded to treatment in the past and were very high cost to the county. It was originally developed to deal with the primarily methamphetamine addicts, but is now expanded to include other addictions, including alcoholic situations. The enrollment has increased to 20 in 2009, and the St. Croix County Courts, Judge Vlack in particular, deserves a tremendous amount of support and accolade. This is a collaborative effort that could not be done without his mentoring and leadership. So we're working well with that program. The downside is the next paragraph, and that's intoxicated driver program. I know we have strong liquor lobby and we have bars on almost every other corner in our state. Unfortunately, in all the various attempts that have been taking place throughout the years, we continue to see a rise in individuals that are drinking and then driving. And so yet again, it's up from 2008 at 367 to 411. If you take away weekends and legal holidays, we're almost approaching 2 assessments every single day our door is open. And that's huge. I mean, that's taking up a full-time staff just to do those assessments, and doesn't speak to the year-long safety plan that's created and all of the work that's generated after the fact, after the assessment's done. So keynote there, if folks have any ideas on how to curb drinking, we have heard, I think it was 2 officers in Somerset have a goal for 2010 to write 100 tickets each. If that's true, you'll see even larger numbers at our annual report for 2010. And then in preventive services, just a couple of highlights there. We started a Parents Who Host the Most Lose the Most as another venture to try and get out to the parents of these kids that may be driving, do some education, the strengthening of families, 10 to 14, trying to target that age group, target them early, and hopefully curb some of the drinking, potentially, and definitely drinking and driving. Some of the other services on there that you could read are largely unchanged. We still go into the jail and work a couple of different programs there. We work with the Richmond Schools and Teen Screen, trying to screen for suicidality and other health issues. All in all, 2009 was a very good year, and we anticipate 2010 being even better. Any
Questions? Ron, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Appreciate it. At this point, why don't we complete our reports? Marie, why don't you give us the extension report? Then we'll go to our agenda. There are 2 items. Microphone, Marie.
And this one is forward. And this one's forward. Okay, perfect. 2 things I handed out to you. First, a copy of the handout of the PowerPoint that I'm going to do tonight, but I also wanted to highlight our marketing brochure that I handed out. That's the trifold that you got. Extension
in the Western District took the lead in the state over the past several years and worked with a marketing firm to come up with the faces and spaces as our logo. And so you can see that one on our beginning slide. And then the thing, it's interesting when you have an outside firm come in, they point out what should be the obvious that always isn't the obvious to you when you're so close to it. But they came up with the logo of our county extension, or your county extension office, because it really is your county extension office wherever you are in the state of Wisconsin. And so you'll see that, and if you would Google that website, it would come up with a map of the state, and you can pick, and there's not enough. Is that what you're telling me? It hasn't.
No, Marie, I'm just asking if you could inform our new members who you are and what you do, please.
I'm sorry, I just jumped in thinking that you all knew who I was since I was here last year. I'm Marie Witzel, 4-H Youth Development Agent in the county, and we have a shared department head in our office, and so part of my responsibility is the annual report for the county board as a leadership role. So there you have our county extension office, and so you'll see that popping up on all of our slides. And because some of you are new and maybe don't know so much about extension, I wanted to give you a brief overview of extension and how we come to be here in St. Croix County. The extension mission is to extend the knowledge and resources of the University of Wisconsin to the people wherever they live and work. So we have this great land-grant university, UW-Madison, and we really want to get all of the resources out to all of the 72 counties in the state, so they came up with the model of UW Extension. We're your link to the University of Wisconsin through our specialist, which we can draw on about 250 state specialists. So if you see one extension agent, know that we have that backing. My colleague pointed out to our committee members last month that it's kind of like the Verizon commercial. You see us, and you see all of that network of providers behind you, and so we're sort of that link for you. We also have the applied research, which helps to meet the local needs like the tourism initiative, some youth-adult partnerships, field crop research, and preparing to parent information. And we also have UW resources like WISLines, webinars. We've had people come to our office and have webinars where they use the technology. We have lots of publications, fact sheets, and other educational materials in our office. Did I jump one? Somehow this is not what mine was. That's sort of interesting. We'll see. No, I wonder where the next one went. Okay, well, I have one in there that's not in there, so I'm going to tell you that because I think that's really important. We are shared resources to maximize programs. So to bring the county extension office to you, there's federal dollars, state dollars, and county funding working together in partnership to support your educators here in the county. We also have a lot of collaborative programs with state specialists and field research. Now we'll see if I went too far ahead. There we go. The unique services that we bring is that we're teachers in the community, we're educators. We help with facilitation and collaboration skills. We provide local leadership and organizational development and community problem solving and engaging citizens. So basically what that leads to is transformational education that we help the people and the communities to help themselves. We have 4 program areas in our office: agriculture, community resource development, 4-H youth development, and family living education. And what we did this year as one of our reports to our legislators was to focus on UW Extension helping St. Croix County residents cope with the recession. And so I want to just highlight how each 4 of those program areas were able to do that. The first we'll begin with is farm succession educational programming. And from that area, there were a couple of issues that were identified as challenges. One of them was transferring the farm to the next generation and some estate planning. And as you heard earlier, Lee Milligan was our agriculture agent, and we miss him dearly in our office. But from the programming that he shared with us, the average producer age in our county and in the counties neighboring us is about 53, and so they're nearing retirement age, and the producers have to make these difficult decisions of how they will transfer their farm on to the next generation. And some of the challenges that they face is the ability of the children to pay for the farm assets while also making sure that the parents have some adequate retirement income. And the other thing that all producers should have an estate planning to help protect themselves to what they call the 5 Ds: divorce, death, disability, disagreements, and disaster. So just to do some planning in that area. And you can see one of the programs that Lee had offered was the farm business arrangements beyond the basics. He had offered a basic course several times in response to some requests about transferring the farm to the next generation. And then this year was more of the beyond the basic, and you can see some of the evaluation comments. But basically, it was a really important opportunity to have some specialists come in and really talk about how people would get beyond some of those basic questions that came up. And you can see some really positive evaluation comments that came from the programs. The other side of agriculture that we offer in our county is horticulture. And there was a growing interest in residents in obtaining income from existing resources. And so during the year, there was a lot of on-site and in-office counseling for 95 fruit and vegetable growers that wanted to assess the potential of having a small business farm and develop some kind of production and marketing plans. And so there was also a workshop that was offered when about 80 landowners came in looking for alternative or additional resources for sources of income for their lands. According to some national surveys this year, there was a 30% increase in a desire for people to grow their own produce this year. And so that was a very hot topic of how do we make sure we help people have their home food horticulture. We also have in New Richmond a long-standing community garden, which is supported by Extension, and it has donated hundreds of pounds of food for struggling families in the county. Extension also offered a series of 4 classes on growing your own fruits and vegetables, which attracted over 225 attendees in those courses. When we look at the community resource development side, downtown leaders in New Richmond expressed a concern about the high vacancy rates as well as the lack of communication between the Chamber of Commerce, the City of New Richmond, and local businesses. And from that developed a committee called Our Avenue Committee, which Extension facilitated a strategic planning process with them, and that there was a variety of people from local businesses, the Chamber of Commerce, and the City of New Richmond, and they developed a mission statement to develop a plan which recommends strategies to create specific programs and infrastructure improvements that foster an environment for sustained, vibrant commerce along the Knowles Avenue corridor. So they're still work in progress, but they saw this as an economic challenge, and how would they meet those needs in that area. When we look at 4-H youth development, our 4-Hers learn life skills such as decision making and working together as a family and others. Lifelong resiliency during tough economic times serves them well as they plan projects and learn job skills without spending a lot of money. They also, one of the things we highlight is they learn to give back to the community. Each year 4-H clubs complete some award applications to be recognized for some of the community service that they did. In 2009, there were 11 of the 18 clubs completed those forms, and our clubs ranged in size from 14 members to 83 members, and it's always a real highlight for me to read those specific reports to find out what the club members really got out of it. And the one thing that really struck me this year that was different from the past is a couple of things. The one club, Riverside Club up in the New Richmond area, brought items for a variety of places, food shelves, clothing centers, and things for the soldiers. But the other club, Roberts, had a birthday bag donation. And one of the things that they really talked about is that the kids could really connect with that idea of a birthday cake. And there were food shelf volunteers that said that there were a lot of families that weren't able to have a birthday cake for their kids this year because of about the economy. And so that really hit home with 4-H members that was something that they didn't even think about, and they thought every kid should have an opportunity for a birthday cake. And so they made sure that they did a big birthday bash kind of fundraising idea. And what we've learned there's been a lot of research lately about community service and the impact of 4-H clubs that have in their community. You'll see a lot of clubs doing roadside cleanups and different things, but that research has shown us that if 4-H members are active in community service, as they get to be adults, they're much more engaged in their community, whether it's community service, but it also may be civic engagement and voting and being involved in politics and local government issues as well. In family living education, in 2007, St. Croix County ranked first in the state for housing unit per foreclosure case, and that continues to remain really high. And so the St. Croix Valley Foreclosure Task Force was created and worked with state specialists to create a foreclosure workbook to be used locally. Because many families rent after foreclosure, a Rent Smart class was developed as well to cover budgeting, finding a place to live, rental agreements, and communicating with landlords was also provided. And you can see some of the information about that as well. UW Extension also provides one-on-one financial counseling for drug court participants and other agencies. Another interesting trend this year was, in order to save money, a lot of families decided to try gardening this year, which meant increased calls to the office about food safety and making sure that they're canning and doing some programs well. And so our family living educator was able to offer a class at Farm and Home in New Richmond, at the radio station there, at the county fair last summer, and the Farm City Days, along with newspaper and cable TV articles. And we'll have more volunteers trained this summer so that we have more resources available with some, they call it a master food preserver class. So there are more people that we can call and ask questions to. And the last part of our extension office is the WNEP program, which is actually a federally funded program that the county just provides the space and some oversight with that program. So no county dollars really going into that program, and they really have an opportunity to reach out to the low income and the people in need in the county. And so one of the programs they talked about was the high food insecurity with families struggling to have enough money to put food on the table. And our nutrition educator meets with the Women, Infant, and Children, the WIC program, on a regular basis. And that's been a really positive opportunity for her to have some one-on-one conversations, and they really connect with Martha as the educator that comes there, and they can ask all kinds of questions about food and how to find out about proper nutrition and working with your family. The other big program that's been a hit with them, with elementary age children, is the 4-week cooking school, which gives the family an opportunity to come together and do some cooking. And you can see the family in this picture, that the kids come together and have that conversation. And it was really interesting, this comment in particular, that the kids came up with the idea of what they wanted to have for dinner and how to do that. So it's really a dynamic type of a program that they're helping and planning and working on. So along with the faces and spaces, one of our marketing things last year was to have a friendly face of our extension office. So we all got our extension blue shirts out and had some photos taken so that we could all have the faces. And so this is all of our staff that works at the office, and we just want to thank you for the support that you give for us as UW Extension. We are hoping to be having some interviews in June for a new ag agent to start later in the summer. So, any questions? It's getting later, I can tell.
Thanks, Marie. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
While a number of these reports are fresher in your mind, one of the things that I would ask you to think about between now and 1 June, one of the agenda items that I have placed on the meeting of the Committee of the Whole is annual department reports. What I'd like you to think about is, what would you like to have come out of these reports, and in what kind of format would you like to see them? Do you want more narrative? Do you want less narrative? PowerPoint? No PowerPoint. Statistics? What do you want? What kind of information, as a county board supervisor, do you want to have come from the various departments? They go through a lot of work to prepare reports. Some are read, some are not read. Think about this, because I really want to have some in-depth discussion so that we not only are getting the kind of information that you want, but we're telling and communicating to our staff what is it that we want them to do. I don't think a report should just be a make-work project. But if it's going to communicate data, then let's format that in the kind of response that we want. So that'll be a discussion item. Think about it between now and then. Let's return to our normal agenda then. We've got 2 items that we do need to address tonight. The first item is the review and acceptance of the County Board Strategic Planning Report. That data is in your packet. This will be a summarization of the time that we spent at WITC. I'm going to ask County Coordinator Whiting to lead this discussion, and then after this report, we'll ask for acceptance of the report. The acceptance indicates that we discussed our goal-setting session, came to some conclusions, and place this in the record. Supervisor Malley.
It's appropriate, Mr. Chairman, I'll move it so we have it on the floor.
I would appreciate that very much, and I will call for a second. Second by Supervisor from Somerset. Try and get your towns in here for the record. Okay, discussion. Chuck, go ahead.
Yes, I mentioned earlier that we'll be meeting with the department heads on Friday to go over the report. I think the question for the board tonight, coming from the administration committee, is this an accurate summary of what you felt you worked on April 26th? There's certainly enough work left to be done. When we talk about measurable items, I think you've seen a lot of data tonight in some of these reports, and some of that may be put together in a measurable fashion, so show some trends over time, and you may see some of that coming back to you in the future. The letter from Duncan McDougall, kind of summarizing what he thinks the next steps should be, is kind of the template that we'll follow with the staff. We'll be talking to the department heads about coming up with 3 to 4, maybe 5 items that they feel that they can measure, and have some sort of a work plan to carry that out. Pete will and myself will help department heads formulate those. We don't want it to be onerous, but hopefully it'll be in keeping with the 4 subject areas that the board felt is important, and have those go through your committees. And as we go through the year, and particularly when we get close to the budget, we'll look at those again and make sure that what actions we're taking and what we're contemplating in budget plans and so forth are within keeping of these general objectives that the board has set. So that's a very quick summary of what happened. I know we've looked at these in the past. It's just a simple motion to approve it. It's not a resolution, and be happy to try to answer any questions, process or otherwise, that you may have.
Any comments, questions? Buzz.
I really appreciate item 2 in Duncan's letter, where he talks about achieving maximum buy-in. For many years and for at various committee meetings, I have spoken about the importance of giving ownership to departmental people in order that they can feel a part of the responsibility for formation of policy and executing plans. And he just spells it right out. To achieve maximum buy-in, these plans should be developed with a cross-section of departmental personnel participation, and if possible, members of the standing committee. And I think it's great that he put departmental personnel in the forefront.
Any other comments, observations, questions? If not, we do have a motion on the floor. At this point, it would be appropriate to get your voting, what would we call these? Remotes? All right, remotes it is. Get your voting remotes. The motion that has been made by Supervisor Malik, seconded by Supervisor Seacard, will be the report of the Strategic Planning Committee, the planning process. And at this point, it would be appropriate for you to vote. I thought it was unanimous. It is not. We have one negative vote. Agenda item number 2 is a resolution that comes from, comes out of really some work that was done for Town of Hudson. There is not attached to this some documents that I hope will become part of our routine process, but there is no financial impact to the county and there is no personnel impact to the county. Consequently, those issue position papers to aid in your decision are not attached. But at this point, we do have in front of us a resolution approving an amendment to Town of Hudson zoning ordinance. And at this point, the chair would entertain a motion. Supervisor Hermson.
I'll bring it to the floor.
Motion Hermson, second by Norton Bauman. Should she enter now her second? Enter now your second. And discussion. Anyone from the committee want to explain the resolution? Fairly straightforward. Supervisor Hermson.
Thank you, Board Chair. Yes, this was something that came before the committee.
Turn on your microphone, please.
Microphone. Sorry. This was something that came before the committee, that the town had made a change to their ordinance. And it's very straightforward, as you can see, that this is more or less just a formality on the part of the county board to approve the action taken by the town of Hudson on how they'd like to restructure their planning and zoning committee and their board of adjustment. So, like you said, there's no impact to the county. It's just more or less a formality.
Town of Hudson has its own zoning, but the county needs to approve changes to their zoning. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Any further discussion? Buzz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My question is for Corporation Counsel. Greg, your part of this is blank, and I was wondering if you've had a chance to review this, and if so, on what date?
No, I've not seen that resolution.
Do you have time to look it over quickly before we vote?
I routinely don't review the resolutions that amend the Town of Hudson zoning ordinance, but I did look at it while I was sitting here while you were discussing, so I don't see anything out of the ordinary in regard to that resolution.
Any further discussion? If not, we'll proceed to vote. The motion on the floor is to approve the resolution that amends the Town of Hudson zoning ordinance. And this is resolution, does it have a number for reference?
We'll have a number. It will be 17.
17?
It will be.
Resolution number 17, if you're keeping track. We are ready to vote. Proceed to vote. Everyone comfortable with your vote? And announce the vote. Couple of announcements quickly.
Just
Sir?
for the board's benefit, I tried voting no first. Before confirming, I pushed yes and then confirmed it did change the vote.
Supervisor Hermson, if anyone would have tried to reverse their vote, I'm sure it would have been you, so thank you. Couple of quick announcements. I think all of you did receive in a WCA mailing information on the WCA conference, which will be in Milwaukee this year. I would encourage supervisors to take advantage of this conference, particularly committee chairs, but universal encouragement. I find the WCA programs especially beneficial, And if you have looked this program over and you see some breakout sessions that would particularly advantage the work you do as a supervisor, I'd certainly encourage your attendance. If you're going to attend, get that information to County Clerk Campbell so that appropriate reservations can be made. Second quick announcement, there is an agenda on blue paper for a meeting of the Committee of the Whole on Tuesday, 1 June. I do not think it is likely that we'll meet as a Committee of the Whole every month, but there will be a number of times when it's very appropriate with specific agenda items for us to spend some time as a group discussing some things. And you'll see the topics that are on that agenda. Particularly, we want to spend some time now getting into the building facilities discussion and specifically the New Richmond water tower issue. This was mentioned a bit before. We've had dialogue with the esteemed mayor from the city of New Richmond, who happens to be occupying one of our seats tonight, and so occupying double duty. But there are some issues that are coming together that make it appropriate for us to now have some very serious dialogue about that topic, and we'll do that. Robert's rules also provide that the chair can appoint a member of the body to preside when we meet as a committee of the whole. Rather than each time appointing someone, I think it's preferable to have a person that's appointed that will preside over those meetings for sake of continuity, and so it's my intention to appoint Vice Chair Wentz to be in the chair when we meet as the committee of the whole. I think it will provide continuity when we meet in those meetings, and so she will serve as chair when we so assemble. Do you have any announcements?
I have no rezonings reported from planning and zoning, and for correspondence, a thank you note from the Jerry Wentz family. And other than that, how'd you like roll call pro? Okay, we'll get used to it. Good.
Anything from any supervisor for the good of the order?
Board Chair, thanks. I don't know how, I'm sure all you supervisors received this. I thought this was very informative. Get a little history of Wisconsin and how we were formed, and the piece on the history of services funding on the funding was quite informative. So if you haven't looked at it yet, this is one to keep. So thanks.
With that, supervisors, we are adjourned.